30 seconds. Here we go. Here's the book. The book is here. So
I have a copy as well.
Okay, 10 seconds to go. Let's go. Here we go. Live in full effect, everybody. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Books and Friends. This is the Books and Friends TV. I'm Davide Scialpi. Great to have you here. Great to have you on board. Welcome on board for another super special live and interactive Q&A, live and interactive conversation with another super special, incredible guest author today. Joining me now, actually from Denmark, a super incredible mind, a super strategy. We're going to be in conversation with a super futurist, a super innovator, super entrepreneur. We're going to be joined by a incredible strategist. He's the founder and CEO of Inception Ltd. He's been working with incredible brands over the course of his careers, such as IKEA, H&M, Adkern, Telenor, as well as leading tech startups and London tech accelerators in the 1984. And this is a super fascinating stuff. Here comes the boom. Was involved in the launch of the first Apple computer, which is a super stuff. And we will get on this during the Q&A, during the conversation. Is a super international keynote speaker, lecturer, a prolific author. Is now out with his newest book called The New Local Economy, published by Lead, here in the Books and Friends room for this new episode of the Books and Friends TV, Nils Elmark. Everybody, good morning, Nils, and welcome to Books and Friends.
Good morning, David.
Good morning,
everyone.
Thanks for being with us, Nils. Thanks for joining us. It is an absolute honor. It is an absolute pleasure to have you here. Super excited, super galvanized to get the people know about your newest book. Together with you, we're gonna have a Q&A on your book that is now out, is now available on Amazon, which is called The New Local Economy, published by Lead in the February of 2020. So 1 month before the arrival of COVID-19, which is a very interesting stuff. And we will get on this during the conversation. We will have a conversation on how future big businesses will grow out of small communities. We will get a couple of insight, fresh perspectives on the trends, evolution that are shaping the world, shaping society, shaping the world of business and entrepreneurship. Before getting to that, before diving into that, allow me to start with a couple of considerations on your book. I found it very useful. It's a super book full of incredible analysis, incredible of perspectives, accurate observations on how the world and the society in which we live is evolving. This is in my opinion, is a must read for entrepreneurs, strategists, innovators, business experts that want to start a business that is in sync with the times, in sync with the trends shaping the world of business, shaping the world of entrepreneurship. And at the same time, on the flip side, it's a masterpiece. It's a super guide. It's a must read for national and local decision makers that want to, redesign, rethink, revamp, relaunch local communities and local economies. Probably, this is my understanding of the book. The goal is to try to fix the negative distortions, negative externalities generated, deriving from globalization and or from, as you used to say in the book, from the global, urbanized, super urbanized, modern tech economy. But it's also a book that aims at helping entrepreneurs get inspired and start small dreams, small, beautiful companies that seems to be the future for the future of business. So we can get into the Q&A, we can get into the conversation. I'd like to start, Nils, by asking you a couple of stuff about you. I got fascinated by your story. I got fascinated by your professional and entrepreneurial journey. I'd like to get more about you. Tell us more. It's going to be super interesting, super curious about it.
Well, thank you, David, and thank you for the kind words. Well, I've been a futurist for the last 20 years. I wrote a book about future studies 20 years ago, and I'm a storyteller, and I believe in the narrative. I believe that if we talk about the future, and if we whatever we talk about is that the way that we move. So we need to have a story. We need. I am born in 1953, and at the same time, Tintin, he got to the moon. So that was 16 years before Apollo 11 and Armstrong getting to the moon. But in my mind, it was only a matter of time until we got there. So having a narrative is about being pulled into the future. We talked about not if we get to the moon, when we get to the moon, us boys. So we were not surprised at all when finally we got to the moon. And this book, I've tried to get this narrative into words and say we have to talk about a better world. We have to talk about what we want in this world. So I'm a storyteller, and whatever I do is based on a lot of research, because we need to have trends on our side. We need to have time on our side. Trends are little pieces of future. They indicate which way is the world moving. And if we read the trends, we can see it's like a wind and say, where would the wind blow us? So we need to have wind behind us. Excuse me. We need to blow in the right way, but still we have to decide for ourselves where we want to go. So it's not about predicting the future. It's about setting up dreams in the future and knowing the forces of the future so that we can use the forces to create whatever we want to do.
Very interesting stuff. Your book is about, the importance of creating local, of supporting local communities and, relaunching local economies. Clearly, February 2020 was the date and with the period in which your book has been published, but was also a kind of significant and relevant period, because 1 month before the arrival of the book, of the COVID-19 pandemic. The COVID-19 pandemic, in my opinion, probably has accelerated the scenarios, the occurrence of the scenarios you have been described within the book. But what do you think, as the COVID-19, amplified the need of investing on a local level, and how, global businesses, global multinationals have been affected by COVID-19, if they increase their power or if they will rethink the way they operate?
Well, I think that yes, I totally agree that the COVID-19 crisis, it has accelerated the trends. We are 4 or 5 years ahead of where we would have been without these trends, and it's both the main trend, which is globalization. I mean, we I remember during the COVID-19, I saw an interview with Emmanuel Macron in France, and he held up a face mask and say, we can't get it, even though it'll save lives and it's only worth €1 or 50 cents. We can't get it because it's being manufactured on the other side of the world, and we don't have the ability to manufacture it. And say, we have to be able, we have stretched it too far, and we've stretched it too far because of profit. We're simply doing it because we can make more money distributing production to countries where labor is cheap and technology is advanced. So we have to, this is not the right, and we have seen it all over again. We couldn't get hand sanitizer, we couldn't get all these things that we needed. And suddenly we were stuck at home during the lockdown, and we realized that we missed the local community. Suddenly we loved Tom Moore and this 100-year-old British soldier, and suddenly the whole country said, he is valuable, but he is 100. He's isn't he old-fashioned? No, he's valuable, and we love him. And suddenly we realized at some point we've missed out on the community thing, but at the same time we had become dependent on globalization, and it hasn't decreased during the COVID-19. If you take the 5 leading companies, Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Tesla, these 5-6 countries, their market value has increased $3 trillion over the pandemic. So now they're worth $8 trillion, and before they were $5 trillion. We talk about this as a crisis, not for these companies. They have gained power, globalized power. So we have to come up with new alternatives because they're not doing, it's not illegal, it's not forbidden. They've just got a huge drive to put things in motion, and we have to learn from them and say that we have to make this. It's all based on technology, and right now we're watching football. I am, at least, and the core idea on the new local economy, and we have to make it small again. I got that when I was in a pub on Bayswater Road in London, watching Iceland beat England 2-1, and there are 300,000 people in Iceland and some 50 million in England, yet they beat them. And 300,000 people, that's a borough in London, and there are 30 boroughs in London. So it's few people, they can have a huge potential. So it's not about taking technology and just use it to get big, but to use it and get small again.
That's very
so that's really what triggered me to writing the book and say, we have to make technology small again and not just make it too big to allow a few people to realize their dreams. But we need to make it possible for millions of people to realize their dreams through technology.
Cool. Very interesting point. Very interesting stuff. Very fascinating stuff. And so you say this, we need to make it small, but why small is beautiful again? Because for years and years, we've been hearing this, slogan. And within your book, you say at a certain point, small is a beautiful starting point. Why do we need to newly dream small instead of dreaming big? Because these multinationals, these big tech giants from Silicon Valley are used to tell us that we need to think big, act big, and trying to become big. And why do we need to start from small dreams?
Well, I got the inspiration I got from a German economist called Ernst Friedrich Schumacher. He is a German-British economist, And he wrote in 1973 a book called Small is Beautiful. And he said, we need an economy as if people mattered. I think it's crucial. We have kind of forgotten people, and because we are a lot of people, we're 8 billion people on this planet, and I've been working in the tech environment in London for the last 10 years, and I've been in and out of accelerators, and what's interesting is that why is London so successful attracting money and technology is it's because London creates unicorns. And for those of you who don't know what a unicorn is, that's a startup worth more than $1 billion. And there are some 700 unicorns in the world. And so we count success depending on how many unicorns we are creating. So creating 700 unicorns means that we have helped 700 people becoming billionaires. That's not a way of measuring global success. We have to think of it's about people. We're all in this together. So we have to stop counting unicorns and a few people's big dreams, and instead saying that we all have little dreams, and all these dreams should have an opportunity. People should have an opportunity to follow their dreams, and to live a life where what's important to them is something that they have an opportunity of living their dreams on their way, not necessarily become a success or reaching their dreams, but it should be possible to do it, because we can't have everything we want. Very often we don't get it, but we should have the hope and the opportunities. And so yes, we have to think of people again, not on profit and billionaires. And that's, I honestly believe it's a better world. And if we don't do it, we will run into revolutions. People won't put up with it. We saw it during the pandemic. We saw riots in the streets, and that's really not about the pandemic. It's about social inequalities. It's dissatisfaction with the way that people live.
Absolutely.
So yes, we have to start all over again with people this time, and not Silicon Valley companies.
Very interesting stuff. I totally agree with you. We need to fix this stuff. We need to regulate also the so-called tax havens, because lots of companies are used to, do business everywhere, do profits everywhere, but they get this money elsewhere, and they don't get back to their local communities. And probably some governments and politicians are working on this. We've got some good news a couple of days ago. I would like to ask you a couple of stuff about fintech. Fintech is booming since a couple of years. It's become a very big hype. There is also a new trend, and they are completely the players and the people working on this stuff are completely reshaping the world of banking, the world of finance, and for sure you have been following this evolution, the evolution of fintech from the very beginning. And I'd like to ask you a couple of things about this. First stuff is why do we need to make it small? Because within your work you say that we need to make it small. And what do you think about the impact of COVID-19 when it comes to fintech? Because and I've been noticing a couple of things. I've noticed that companies like Monzo, Revolut, and 26 have been a little bit hit by the pandemic, and it seems that big banks have become stronger than they were because of the COVID-19. And I want to get your opinions about this, your thoughts about this.
Well, yes, first of all, what we see is banks, they are closing their branches, and they're firing people. They're firing a lot of people, and they buy new technology so people can sit at home and do their banking. But if we see, I think it's 6 banks in the UK covering the whole country, and they're not focused on small people. So small people, small businesses, they are looking elsewhere, and banks like Starling, Monzo, Revolut say yes, it's cheaper, and it will always be cheaper because of new technology. I mean, why can you have an online only bank which can compete with HSBC?
Yeah,
and it's because their technology is new. Big banks, they have legacy systems. They built the banks up through the 20th century. Some of it is programmed in COBOL, and a programming language that we haven't used for something like 50 years. But it's still there in the core of the system. And 80% of all the money they spend is on maintenance of existing systems. Whereas when we see new banks, they have new technology, they have no legacy systems, so they take their banks and create it far cheaper. If you take a bank like Starling, Monzo, they're all in what's called in the cloud. They have Amazon web services. Yeah, it's hosting Starling Bank.
Yeah,
they don't have their own data department. They
department.
Yeah, they just maintain their immediate software servicing. They're focused on servicing customers, but not running the big number crushing. That's done by Amazon Web Service or Azure from Microsoft or one of the others. So it's cheaper, it's more efficient, they can create new systems. But what's interesting is that and they're more focused on customers.
Yeah.
And if we say, I followed a couple of these banks closely, and there is one called Coconut, and I invest in Coconut through a crowdfunding site called Crowdcube. And all this is that if I think it's a good bank, why shouldn't I invest in it? And because they are part of my community. It's a bank for freelancers. They service freelancers. They're focused on freelancers. They're talking about freelancers as their fans, not their customers. So it's a community of people. We have moved from a marketplace with customers to a community with fans and friends. And so this is the next step, and it has become a lifestyle. Very often they focus on lifestyle as well. And I heard about two girls in meeting at the counter at Pret a Manger, and suddenly they realized that they were both paying with a Monzo coral red. It's not just red; it's coral red. And when they saw each other paying with a Monzo card, they did a high five in the shop. And it shows this is not about money. This is not about fees or interest rates. It's about lifestyle.
Yeah.
And Monzo, they have detected these people. They feel lonely, banking-wise. They need a new lifestyle, and they have their lifestyle, and we need to connect to it. And it's completely different from just offering a banking service. Now we're offering them an opportunity to flash their lifestyle, and it's because they understand the community. And what I think is interesting is that now we're taking one step further, because Starling, Revolut, Monzo,
N26,
N26, and in Germany, they developed their own banking system. Today, you can buy it off the shelves. it's like banking as a service. If you want to open a bank, you can, for a 5 million pound, you can get a fully equipped bank.
Yeah.
So you can open a bank, and that means that it's for a tenth of the price, and that gives you an opportunity to focus even more on your community, and I see that in there is a bank called Daylight in the US. Daylight is a bank focusing on LGBT plus.
Yep. Oh.
If you feel like you belong to this community, you should be able to flash a Daylight credit card when you're out and say, "This is my identity," and we can support your identity. 90% of your personality normally is below what you buy, but here, if it's important for my community to belong in a community, if I feel lonely outside a community, then here's my opportunity to get this connection in my as a banking as a banking service. And I think that's
interesting stuff.
New approach to when I wrote the book, I called it the new local economy. But maybe very often, if it's like giving a speech or writing a book, when you're finished, you realize what it is that you're talking about. And I think that community is a driving force. It's about, we have to find these new, identify ourselves in our communities. And there is a speaker called Kylie Jenner, and she says, "Don't ask me where I'm from, ask me where I feel local."
Yeah.
And because we're moving about, but it's about feeling local and being part of the community. And she defines the community through the 3 R's. It's relations.
Yep.
It's rituals.
Yep.
And then it's the least sexy part, but most important part is it's restrictions.
Restrictions, yeah.
So if this community, if you feel part of the community, and you can see the restrictions, and see people in the bank, in the entire HSBC banking community, they feel lost if they are LGBT plus, and say, okay, I'm an LGBT plus person. I happen not to be, but it's beside the point. Then giving people an opportunity to say, this is a restriction, that I can't go out in the open and tell people who I am. And say, we give you that opportunity because we can see the mutual restrictions. So if you can connect and create and understand these communities, then it's actually dead easy to find the restrictions. Because if you're part of a community, it's not rocket science to see where are the restrictions. And that brings me to the point everybody's talking about big data, artificial intelligence. So that's not as important as human intelligence and small data. It's understanding people in your community. What are their problems? How can they solve it? And if you do it, they're loyal members of the community. And I think in the future, we will see so many businesses driven by purpose, driven by communities, whatever that community may be.
That's very interesting.
Not just local communities, but any community at all. So it's defining your community and offering services into this. And you can start even though you have practically no money. And that's the beauty of it, because HSBC, they have legacy systems.
Yeah,
Big
absolutely.
banks have legacy systems. They have millions, tens of millions of customers on legacy systems.
Facilities.
They can't move these people. Whereas if you start afresh, you don't have it. It's actually an advantage not to have a legacy system. You can start all over again. If you see a company like Tesla, it's something like 5 times as valuable on the stock exchange as BMW. And it's because BMW has a whole company, 120,000 people, and they're all specialized in diesel engines, in combustion engines, in building old type of cars. Whereas Tesla, they start afresh. They only have engineers who can create electrical vehicles. So it's actually now, we're not talking about economies of scale. We're talking about economies of on scale. And if you have a dream, you can connect to people. If you want to open a bank, you can get a bank cheaply. It's about, do you have a dream? Do you have something you want to do? And don't say, well, we're small, we can't do it. Of course you can do it if you want to.
That's very interesting stuff. That's very, very interesting stuff. So economy, we need to leverage economies of upscale. So leveraging new technologies, and for sure, fintech solutions seem to be very incredible things. And talking of crowdfunding, you mentioned crowdfunding, you use that. And what is that? And why it can play an important role in developing a new local community? Because we see lots of brands, for example, Monzo or Revolut, they have leveraged that. And in your book, you say if a company grows out of a community where everybody feels they have a stake in the company and supported brands are created for free. So it seems a good tool also from the branding and marketing perspective.
Yes, I mean, that's, we see at the moment the main game board. It's driven by technology. We see all the unicorns, all the successful big companies. They're big because their business model is scalable. I mean, if you have Uber, you can add new customers and new drivers forever.
Yeah.
Because it's on Amazon Web Service next to Netflix, and so you can expand your business forever. Yeah. And the point is, if you want to open a coffee shop, in Brixton, that's not scalable, because you have to invest in people. There will be 3 people working in the coffee shop, and they will never be able to create an investment far better than Monzo. And so why should venture capitalists invest in this little coffee shop? Because they will never get the kind of return they're looking for. Well, people in the community say, yes, we need a coffee shop. And so can we invest in it? Because every morning on my way to the tube, I need a cup of coffee, and this is my coffee shop. It's funny because I invested in a fish and chips card in East London, and I saw it on there was a food accelerator called the Kitchenette, and they help young people if they wanted to start a street food business. Yes, you can go out and start on your own, or we can help you create something better than you would come up with it yourself. We can teach you how to run a street food business, and they even have Michelin chefs helping the young people do it right. And I invested, I think it was only 150 quid in this fish and chips card in Tower Hamlet. And they promised that they would pay me back in fish and chips. And I'm not sure I will ever eat my way through this investment. But I got to know people. I saw an area becoming more pleasant to live in. The quality of the marketplace where they had their fish and chips card improved. I knew I got to know some of the young people working in the fish and chips card. In the morning on my way to work, I waved at them and say hello, and Tia, she said hello, and suddenly I felt connected to the community. And it matters a lot because we are human beings as well. being connected to people is important. It's life quality. We don't live just for money. We need money, but getting in here, and that's where crowdfunding comes in. It's you go to your community and help me set up my bank, help me set up. If you think it's the right thing to do, why not invest in it? And so we see two different tracks. One, scalable business funded by venture capitalists, which is okay. I mean, it's not illegal, and it's pushing and forcing people to rethink what they're doing. And then we have another track funded by people, for people, that increases quality in your local neighborhood or your local community or your community that is whatever that is. So two different ways, and we have to find a balance. And at the moment, we invest too much money we let too much money invest in. We invest too much money in the scalable global businesses. I mean, we're watching at the moment the European Football Championship, and we're looking at Alipay. They're one of the sponsors, and they want in on the European financial infrastructure, and I'd like to have a European one. I think it's important that we have our own, because then we're in
hostage of others.
Yes, it does. Yes, and it's we have influence on our own destiny. It's not driven by
us
elsewhere, because they are in it for the money.
Yeah.
And it's not because they're Chinese. It would be the same if European companies invested in China. But we don't. But we're more concerned about our community, where we live, our part of the world, and we should have bigger influence on it, and not give it away. And it's kind of a digital independence, business independence.
Totally agree with you. Totally agree with you on this. And one of the fascinating things we are, observing is that all brands or brands that have been created before the arrival of social media, or brands that have been created through massive investments in advertising, are struggling with millennials, with the new generations of people, Gen Y and Gen Z. And this kind of new generations of people, are looking literally for some companies that are able to give them meaning. So for meaningful place to work, meaningful, experiences, and not products and services. So how delicate and important is for entrepreneurs, local governments to understanding these new generations of people, how to approach and relate to them, how to convince them from the marketing perspective.
Yeah, well, looking at Gen Z, it's a whole new situation, and it's interesting because let me give you an example. 2 years ago, TikTok was introduced, and within 2 years, they have attracted something like 1.1 billion users. It's an awful lot of people, and most of these people are below 23, 25, mostly are teenagers. So they have, and we see them as sponsors on during the European Championship. And these young people, they buy direct to consumer brands. You create a new brand, and you only sell it online to people who normally don't go to shops. There was an interesting Kylie Jenner. Kylie Jenner 4 years ago, she thinks lip gloss and eye cosmetics is important. So she launched her own brand, and she sold it on the net, and within 4 years she had created a business worth $1.2 billion, and it wasn't sold through normal bricks and mortar shops. It was also online, and she had only 12 people employed. The rest was outsourced. And it shows something, that if you have a crowd, and you understand the crowd, and you have a dream, then you can create your business. Her brand grew out of her crowd.
Yeah.
We followed her. She could have launched a bank as well, and she would probably have something like 10 million new bank customers. In March, there was launched a new bank called Step in the US. It's a bank for teenagers.
Yep.
A young teenager, Kylie D'Amelio, she is 16, and she invested herself in this Step startup banking brand. And when she showed the card for the first time, she got 3.4 million likes. And most banks, they have never been on TikTok. She's the first person in the world with more than 100 million followers on TikTok. So the incumbents, they don't know TikTok, they don't know Kylie D'Amelio, and they don't know the brand. They're looking as Barclays or some of the RBS as our most fierce competitors. But the point is, it's probably Kylie D'Amelio with her 100 million followers on TikTok. She will take future customers because she has a story to tell. She has a brand, and she has a community. Whereas HSBC or some of the big banks, they don't have a community. They have just customers.
Yeah. They look at them as numbers.
Yeah, they're numbers, and they need artificial intelligence to find out what they really appreciate.
So what kind of economy do we need today, Nils? What does it take to modernize the society, economy, and the local communities, local economies? Because there is clearly a big focus on digitizing everything, innovation everywhere. But are these solutions sufficient to modernize society and economy?
No, it's not. I mean, we're heading for disaster if we don't do anything. If you take a company like Amazon, maybe it's not really fair about Amazon, but if you buy a book on Amazon, and they're so good at it, all the money will go out of the community. If you work in a community and you decide to buy a book or something on the internet, all the money leaves your community and it'll never come back. I mean, Amazon doesn't pay income tax. I mean, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago, Marks and Spencer that year. Marks and Spencer paid more taxes than Amazon had done for the last 19 years. So the moment you buy something from these online businesses, the money leaves your community and it will probably never return. Whereas if you buy it from a local bookshop, well, they hire people. They will, if they have a profit, they will reinvest the money in their shop. The local painter, he will paint the shop. We will have local businesses grow. And we have to bring back money, bring back business to local communities, because we can't continue to send our money to Cayman Island through Luxembourg. We have to find better ways of doing it. And that boils down to that consumers and people have a responsibility. If you can choose between buying it locally or buying it online, well, sometimes you can't get it locally. So it's fair to say, well, then I buy it online. But very often it's a matter of going to local shops, buying it locally, because at the end, it will be better communities, and the price of your house will keep its value.
Yeah.
If you close all the shops in high street shops in the town where you own your house, the price of your house will go down. Whereas if it's still a vibrant shopping environment, your house will keep its value. So we have to do it. And it's a responsibility for all the shops to develop and create more exciting shops to engage with their customers. So it's this kind of, yes, we all have a responsibility, but we have to bring it back to the community. We have to have an economy as if people mattered.
That's very
so it's it's not easy, but we have to do it, and we have to stop big global companies and not paying taxes. They have to invest in local communities as well.
We got some message from Philip and Martin. Philip says, really enjoyed the conversation, apart from the reminder of England losing to Ireland. Apologize, but for this you know, it's
don't worry, Iceland is not in Euro 2020.
Then we got also a message from Martin. He says that sense of community is more important than ever, especially after the past year. And this is quite absolutely true. So another question, I'd like to ask you another stuff, Nils, and it is about, how to relaunch local communities with, actionable ideas or with great solutions. It seems that food seems to be a great marketing tool to get this community back. And in your book, you say that in the global economy, the future found back startups want to change the world from the top, whereas in the local economy, the startups change the world from the bottom. And food seems to be the ideal starting point. So why do we need to start with that? Tell us more about that.
Well, food is it's the easiest way for most people to start, because if you wherever you come from, you bring in a food tradition. Most people are able to cook. Well, not all, but very often people cook. And we've seen a boom in street food over the last 5 years, and it's interesting because it gives this diversity in what we eat. It's not the same hamburger. It's not the same that you get from chain restaurants. We all want to have a new experience. We want to go on adventure, and you can easily open a street food shop. You can start with food. We all need food. We eat 3 times a day. So it's about food. That's where we can start. That's why we can spread it out and as a starting point. And wherever you go, it's yes, I want to eat local food. We can see we drink more craft beers than we did some years ago. Don't you want a Budweiser and
or Heineken?
No, Heineken. No, I mean you've seen Ronaldo remove the Heineken and put in water, and so it's No, yeah, it's we need to come up with something better than Heineken. It's a local beer, something that, and it was funny. I went to this launch and in East London with my fish and chips cart, and they weren't ready when I arrived, and one of the other micro investors say, well, there's a bar over there, let's go and have a beer. And we got a beer, and they offered us a 40-foot beer.
Yeah.
And I said, what's 40-foot? And they say, it's our local brand. We brew it and in a 40-foot container in the yard. And then suddenly I see the pattern. Say, this is a deprived area. They're needing jobs, they're needing money, they're needing a new economy. And here we have a fish and chips cart serving excellent fish and chips. And we have the local brewery. And no, I don't want a Heineken. Maybe when I go to Holland, I love Heineken because it's a local beer. But sometimes I drink a Heineken. I'm not against Heineken or any other beer. But I prefer to have this balance between local food, and sometimes it's okay with a Mac. So we shouldn't be religious about this. We should have an open mind. We should move about and take whatever life offers us. So food is an excellent starting point. Say,
Absolutely.
if we create a local food environment in any area, it will attract visitors. And when we go on a holiday, it's all about food, finding restaurants. It's eating well. It's part of life, and it's easy to go about it. So let's start with food.
We need to go for that. And there are incredible examples, like, for example, Brew Dogs, which is an incredible beer. And of course, millennials love everything that comes from local communities because it is crafted, it is artisan, and we are seeing lots of brands. For example, you mentioned you said that within the book. For example, AB InBev are buying local beers, local breweries, and also Heineken are buying local breweries. For example, they both Ichnusa or AB InBev is buying other beers, local beers. So it seems that what you say is quite correct. So if we create the local brands, people will appreciate them, and probably there will be room for become global brands, become global business much more easier than doing the exact contrary. So trying to become immediately a super companies and leveraging trying to work on economies of scale. We are more or less at the end. Time flies, everybody. I'm going to ask you one last question, Nils. It is about future trends. So when it comes to entrepreneurship, what are the key mega trends scenarios that might worsen the economic situation by increasing inequalities and creating an inclusive society in the next future? What are the core trends you foresee in the so-called new normal? Because now we are getting to a new kind of stage, and probably clear there is a lot of uncertainty and volatility, but something we can spot something.
Well, it's a lot of work. I would say that within all these trends, I'd like to promote another trend, and we can see it amongst the founders of the big tech companies. Mm-hmm. Richard Branson, Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, they're all looking at the stars. They have big dreams, and it's I think it's amazing that if we take some of these entrepreneurs they are reaching out for the stars. They're reaching out for the moon, for Mars, or even further out. And if we see all this new technology, the next generation businesses, like they are at least 10 times as efficient as the old ones. That means, well, we can fire 9 out of 10 employees. No, we can allow ourselves to increase our dreaming 10 times. And I think that's maybe the most important thing for everybody. It is that you have to be better at dreaming. You have to be better at imagining new stuff and not hold yourself back. It's stepping out of your comfort zone. It's getting inspired to dream something you want to do. And it's getting this dream, and it starts with inspiring. And how can we move into a future which is quite chaotic?
Yeah.
And one of the jazz musicians, he said, you can improvise on anything, but you can't improvise on nothing. That means you have to have this little hook in the future. You have to have something which, I'd love to do this. And how do you do it? I don't know, but I'll find out. I'll solve it when I move into this new space. And we should all seek inspiration to dream new dreams. Your future should pull you forward. And it's not about, and everybody, and that's why I think we need 8 million little dreams in this world. 8 billion little dreams in this world. Everybody should have something they want in front of them. And it's not just money, it's anything. Yeah. And the moment there's something you want, you get up in the morning and you feel a purpose for your day because there's something you want out there. And I think this is more important than ever. We are being set free through technology, but we still think as we did in the past century. And we need to move that step forward and start dreaming again. It's a new renaissance. We're set free, so please start dreaming. Start looking for inspiration. And the moment you get this inspiration, you get forward. Another hero of mine, Hemingway, he said, when I write a book, start with the truest sentence you know. Then you know that then you have a good beginning. And I think everybody should think about, what's the true sentence I have? Which direction do I want to go? And I want to participate, inspire people to create communities, to work with people in a community, no matter what kind of community it is, because they shouldn't sit alone in front of their screen or their iPhone and live their lives. They should move out and live their lives with people.
Very interesting point. Super fascinating stuff. Final question. Next book coming up, and how to get in touch with you, Nils?
Well, yes, you can find me on LinkedIn. I think that's the easiest way, and or through my website on inception.co.uk. Inception spelled with a C and not a T. That was Christopher Nolan. He built Inception with a T. So I had to put in a C. The next book, that's kind of exciting. One of my childhood heroes, that was Tintin. And I am working on a book called The Tintin Leadership. I say, because I've asked a lot of leaders, if you were to work together with Tintin, would you follow him? And people say yes. But he's not perfect. No, but he has integrity. He has his culture, and he always succeeds. He goes on adventures, and so kind of way. Tintin, he has the leadership formula. And you can take it to anywhere in the world. If they've heard of Tintin, they would be willing to follow him. So what is it Tintin does that unites a whole world? You can simply just translate his books and people will say, yes, that's me. So that's I'm working on this idea of writing Tintin leadership.
That's very interesting stuff, very fascinating stuff. So, guys, final greetings. We are the final greetings, everybody. Time flies. End of the road, end of the journey of this new episode of the Books and Friends TV. It's been an amazing stuff, an amazing, incredible thing, conversing with Nils Elmark on all the things, local economy, local entrepreneurship, fintech, banking, super fascinating stuff. We do look forward to catching up with you soon, Nils. We do look forward to your next book. I officially want to greet and thank you for being with us, for helping us getting more about all these new scenarios, all these new trends, shaping and reshaping the world of business and the society and the economy in the light also of COVID-19 pandemic. Again, it's now available on Amazon, the new local economy, published by Lead. Guys, just buy that, read it, and use that, because it's full of actionable insights, solutions, ideas, both for entrepreneurs and local decision makers in the public sector. So I do want to greet and thank all our listeners. Thanks for watching us. Thanks for following us. If you really appreciate a lot of this episode of the Books and Friends TV, simply subscribe our YouTube channel. We will be back in September, right after the summer. So, guys, gonna have a small break. We will get back with new incredible authors, new incredible Q&As. If you want to just get updated about the next Q&As, go to booksandfriends.eu or email us pr@booksandfriends.eu. So, again, thank you all for being with us, for following us, and for watching us. We leave you with this quote: "Economy of scale is no longer an advantage." Nils Elmark. Bye from Books and Friends. Bye, everybody. Catch you soon. Cheers. Bye. Have a great day. Cheers. Have a great summer, guys. Bye. Catch you soon.